The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast.
What's going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 257. Today's date is Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. If you're out there in the live chat, welcome to the dark side. Well, if we don't know that you're out there unless you do say something, so make sure you say something out there. If this is your first time to the show, first time to the channel, good luck. We hope we don't make you any dumber. We know we're not going to make you any smarter. We just hoping we don't make you any dumber, but we cannot guarantee anything. Remember that this is going to be time that you will never, ever get back. So enjoy it while you can. If you're wanting to call or text into the show, yes, you can call or text in the show. Utilize the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates over at Aegis Gun Care. That phone number is 530-364-4678. If you are a veteran, really anyone, but especially if you're a veteran and you're in that hole, you're in the darkness and you're looking for the light, call me, text me, email me 24/7. I cannot give you medical advice, but I could probably be a decent ear for you to listen to some stuff and maybe hopefully talk you through some stuff. But if you are looking for someone that can get you towards medical attention, remember two things. One, you are definitely not alone in this fight. You've got a lot of brothers and sisters out here that are willing and able to help you in any way possible. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline. 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255. Veterans, press the number 1. We are, we're spotlighting as always, United States Marine Corps. If you have any questions on what it takes to earn the title, United States Marine, see the website marines.com. And as always, we're a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Go check out all your favorite pro-gun, pro-2A podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net. Let's get this off of my ugly mug and welcome in our quasi co-host at this time from the great state of Texas, the tactical leprechaun himself. What's up, Clover? How are you?
I am well.
Well, that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking of riding shotgun, as always, do you have a shotgun of the week for us this week?
Got one that I'd be willing to bet the vast majority of people have never heard of. It was very short-lived, thanks to the wonderful ATF. The Cobra Terminator.
Never heard of it.
So it is an open bolt design, single shot shotgun. It looks kind of like a grease gun and a Tech 9 had a baby. So
oh wow.
It's interesting because it's open bolt, even though it was a single shot, because it had that open bolt design. The ATF said, oh, you could modify a magazine to it or something, blah, 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 blah. And so they shut it down, unfortunately.
Huh.
So it released as like a cheap piece of junk, $100 shotgun. And thanks to the ATF, if you have one now, you're probably sitting on $1,500 or $2,000. So, yeah,
right. Shout out to our buddy Tim Knight out there. He says the guy up in the box is a great listener. I don't know if I'm a great listener or not, but I am willing to listen and talk to anyone. So, unfortunately, that happens frequently, and that's not a. I say unfortunately, not because I don't want people to call. I do. Unfortunately, more people have been calling than I wish would, because it means there's more people out there that are going through issues. But hey, we all go through issues. We all go through darkness in our lives. And sometimes it's just nice to get shit off your chest. And so I'm definitely here to do that as well. So Tim is a good friend. Tim, if you want to jump in, I can always send you a link. It's up to you.
I'm wondering if we're ever going to see see Tim again. It's been too long.
I have a feeling that Tim will show up eventually in a couple different places. I think if you guys don't know Tim, he's always busy. He's always working on something, but I think he's probably got some stuff working in the background, as you well know, that could be interesting. So we'll see. It's nice to see some of my tactical response alum out there. Clayton's out there. What's up, homie? You guys know tonight we're going to talk a little bit mostly about Yeager. And for those that don't know, James passed away, lost his battle with ALS earlier in the week, and or I guess later last week, whatever, the weekend. And yeah, I mean, it was one of those where, man, I don't even know. I don't even think it was a year since he kind of announced it. It was looking 9 months. It was right before shot, if I believe,
Like when I've been getting a few things in the feed, which is, it's weird how YouTube's like that. Obviously that's a trending, somewhat trending topic. And so the video popped up when he was diagnosed, and I want to say it was like October is the date on it.
Yeah.
So
I knew it was not too far before shot because I was really lucky to have a few minutes with him at range day on Monday at SHOT Show, and it was just a few minutes, but we basically saw each other once a year at SHOT, and was able to talk to him for a few minutes. I think you were in one of the booths shooting something, so I was like, I saw him walk by, like, oh snap, I'll be right back. And like I said, I only had a few minutes, but it's always nice to catch up with him, especially knowing what he was going through. And it's one of those things where you never know when the last time you're going to talk to someone's going to be. And I'm not trying to make this all melancholy and all that. This is going to be definitely going to be something that's going to be trying to celebrate Yeager and all that he did for the community. And people know my story with James. I'm still not a huge fan of the James Yeager YouTuber guy. Never have been. Had him on the show, 4 or 5 years ago, and I think Clover, you were on there with us, and
I'll tell my story after you tell yours. If you
we'll tell.
That's interesting, right? Like I don't fit your bro vet category, obviously, and I am not a tactical response alum. So I've got a little different story.
But you know James, and you've been around James and had a conversation with James, and that's what this is all about.
I've got a different story
of what people didn't hear about James all the time.
Yeah. So I got a little different perspective on it, but
yeah.
But
so he came on to the podcast back when it was Tactical Tuesday. You guys remember way back those days. He came on the show, and we had our normal discussion, and I don't hold many punches with anyone, and we had the discussion. I basically told him, not in a mean way, but not that he would care. But I was like, I don't agree with a lot you say on the YouTubes and blah 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 blah. And he basically straight up challenged me right then and there live. He said, have you ever trained with me? And I said, no. And he said, well, don't judge me until you do. And so he invited me over to Camden and went out there and took fighting pistol a few months later. And, I'll put it this way. At the end of the class, when we were getting ready to leave and all that, he kind of had everybody together, and he kind of pulled me up there and kind of said, well, this guy, blah, 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 didn't like me. And I told him to come train with me. And he says, what do you think? And I told him, I said, well, I still don't particularly like you, in a joking manner. And I said, but I'll train with you any day, anywhere. And the biggest compliment I can give about Yeager was he cared about his curriculum. He cared about his students. He cared tremendously about his family and friends and his staff at Tactical Response. most importantly, he cared deeply about making people better gunfighters for personal defense, whatever it would be. He took pride in making you leave there knowing you were a different person with a gun in your hands. And from a student side and all of that, that's all you could ever ask for. You know what I'm saying? It's someone that takes pride and passion. This passion was second to none. Mario out there says, I had a not so polite talk with Yeager a decade ago. By the way, any conversation you have with Yeager is probably not going to be a not so polite conversation. He said, better not talk about it here, but suffice to say, many rivets agree with me. He's not a saint. I'll just stop here and have a safe night. Look, I'm not going to sit there and say the man's a saint. I'm not going to say that he doesn't have demons and skeletons in the closet and all of that. What I can tell you is firsthand, if you've ever trained with the man, you'll know what I mean. I mean, the passion, the pride, the professionalism. I've said this before. If you've never taken, if you never, and I'm sure they're still going to have fighting pistol. I'm sure tactical response is not going anywhere. It'll be a little bit different now, but without giving a lot of away, the price tag for fighting pistol is worth it, if for no other reason, to get the classroom portion of it. It's the mindset side of being carrying a gun and all of that. And he'll tell you straight up. He told you first 10 minutes of a class, he's like, if you're the kind of person that doesn't like to carry one in the chamber, this is not going to be the class for you. So either you're going to leave now and let me know, and I'll refund your money. And he was dead serious. I'll refund your money. Or you're going to learn. And there's a lot of people, I think, there that learned that carrying one in the chamber is not a bad thing. I think people got comfortable. Yeah, it was just, Screaming Skull Saloon said, Yeager was like your weird uncle. We missed. Yeah. And Clayton was there when I said that. And, it's one of those. Clayton says the mindset lecture was worth it if you get more out of the lecture the second time through it. Yeah. The mindset. And I had some people before I went, people that I respect, the G-Webs of the world, and a couple others that had said, call me, because they knew that I have about a 6-7 hour drive, about 6 hour drive home after it ended. So G was like, call me, like, as soon as you get in the truck, call me, because he knows, I know you're going to want to talk. And I did that. We basically talked the entire way back home. And I just had so many things going through my mind, and the mindset was something that I was told by a lot of people. The mindset lecture will change you in a way. And it did. And I think even you remember me coming home and talking about the mindset lecture. And I probably told you, Clover, many times that alone was worth any price tag you go, regardless of the shooting abilities you're going to gain. That the mindset classwork was amazing. So we got a lot of stories to go along with. I know, Clover, you've got your own story. Like you said, Clover was not, we do have some people coming and joining in when they get back. We got Pincus is going to join. We're trying to get Woodland and some others. What I will say is the phone line is open. If you're out there and you're a tactical response alum, or if you've been around Yeager and you have a story talking about, what he's meant to you, or legacy, or, might call him an asshole, he was a lot of things, and an asshole was one of them. Let's be honest about it. Call in if you'd like it and tell your story and all of that. But I know, like you said, you had a little different story and relationship with James, because you weren't an alum. So you kind of go through that real quick.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to disagree with you, because, maybe I heard that wrong, but you were like, well, if you've never taken a course with James, well, here's the thing. I've never taken a course with James, and he was a straight up solid person. Trying to find
Absolutely.
the right words, because it's hard to
well, straight up is one of them. Yes, he was going to tell you, and I guess that's why he and I maybe got along, is we're both going to tell you how you're never going to have to worry where you stand with me. You were never going to have to worry about where you stood with James, good or bad, you know?
He didn't. And this is my perspective, and everybody's going to have theirs. He never said anything from a place of malice. Now, what he said may have been brash and it may have been harsh, but he wasn't saying it to be mean or cruel. And so, my feelings on training, and that's part of where it come up in the conversations that I had back and forth with him, and he ripped on me hard. I got the invite the same as you did, right? To go, and was actually looking into, shotgun training. He does some stuff occasionally here in Texas, right? And so
he does every year. Yeah,
was looking into some of that. It just wasn't into the cards. It didn't work out, and it's all unfortunate that now I'm not going to have the opportunity. But but here's the thing. I mean, we had that conversation on your show. We had a slight conversation, right? Every time that we met and spoke, he seen me from across a room, whatever the case may be, right?
Yep.
He remembered me.
Yep.
And he would, if he was close enough and not busy, he would approach me. He would give me the finger up symbol.
The old thumbs up. He was big on the thumbs up. He always did that.
Yeah. And like, hang on, I'm talking to somebody, or something. And hey, what's up? When you're going to come to the class, and it's like, well, and he's like, oh no, that's, brash about it. That's BS. You need to get your rear end down there,
Yeah. Hold on. Let's take a phone call real quick. Armed Citizen Podcast. Who do we got? All right. Whoever that was, you hung up. So call back, bro. Whoever that was out of the 763, call back. You hung up as I said hello. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, he was one of those, you're not going to like everything about him. You're not going to, there are people that will never, and there's a comment up here Stan mentioned about driving people away, such as Reed and Reed Heinrich. If you guys know the story, Reed worked with James for a long time and wrote with James a lot of the curriculum for the tactical response things. They had a falling out, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to get along all the time. There's, and when you're talking about egos, make no mistake about it. James had an ego. And everyone, if you're going to be successful at anything, you've got to be a little arrogant about it. It is what it is. It is what it is, but you can't judge a man by watching someone on YouTube or hearing stories until you spend time with that person individually in real life, one-on-one. And James taught me that in a certain degree, because I was very anti-Yeager, if you will, for a while. And meeting with him, training with him, like I said, the passion that he has, the pride. I could care less what he says on YouTube. And I honestly haven't watched any of his YouTube stuff in years. But I'll say this is an instructor, he's definitely going to be missed. Yes, Timothy says, I appreciate the whole conversation, the whole man. Yeah. Whether or not I agree with everything that James says or liked everything that he said or anything, that doesn't matter. He has the right to say what he wants to say. I don't have to agree with him, and he doesn't care if I do agree with him or not. And that's one of the things, reason why I like him also, is he didn't pull punches and he didn't care if you liked him or not. It is what it is. Casey out there says, I'm excited for fighting shotgun attack response in December. Continue to train will be a great way to honor your team. And that's a great point. Like I said, tactical response isn't going anywhere, and he has very capable instructors there at tactical response, and they're going to continue the legacy and the mindset and the tactics and the instruction that James laid down, and all of that. Yeah, and Stan's right. He believed that you had every right to disagree with him. Yeah, absolutely. Like I believe in the right that I don't have to agree with them, and he didn't care if you agreed with them. One thing that you can say about him is he's going to speak his mind, but he didn't mind if you spoke your mind. The cool thing about he and I are a lot alike in a lot of different ways. Is I truly believe that you have the right to say what you want. But if you're going to say that to me, you better have facts or you better be able to back up whatever you're saying. And if you do, once again, I don't have to agree with you, but I can respect the conversation. And he was the same way. He doesn't mind you criticizing. He didn't mind you doubting him. He didn't mind questioning him. Just be able to support those claims a little bit and all of that. So yeah, he was interesting. Clayton's going to be there. Let's see here. I'm going through some of the comments out here. If you're in the podcast, listening to this in podcast world, I'm going to try to read all these questions out as well in comments because you're not going to be able to see the screen. But Travis T said his original Pack Your Bags video spoke volumes. It got him in trouble, but he publicly said what many of us were thinking. Absolutely. Big Al says Yeager was one of the first gun channels I started watching. I got away from his channel and didn't know he had ALS. He lost his Facebook coach and classmate to ALS. I'm so sorry to not know. Practical Minimalist says you haven't watched his videos in a while, and it shows because his final wishes in a family video posted the day after death. He didn't want what you're doing right now, and that's okay. I'm not doing anything except for celebrating a person that I knew, and I had a conversation with him in January at Monday at Range Day at SHOT Show. And I think that the biggest thing that I took from that was he knew it was coming, and I think he probably tried to live the last 9 months or whatever to the best of his ability. So Practical Minimalist, if you don't want to be here, then there's a door. You don't have to be here. I am going to do this as my way of saying thank you to James. And if you don't like that, then you don't have to be here. So let's see here. Whether he's fine with it or not, Big Al, it's what it is. I'm going to do what I do. And more than anything, I think James would appreciate me saying, I'm going to do what I do and to hell with it if you don't like it. So he did take care of his family, Philip. And one of the cool things that if you go to any of his training, I don't know where he got, we went to a Mexican restaurant there in Camden. And, he showed up with his wife, his family and all of that and ate dinner with, 30, 40, 50 people, whatever many were there. And it was pretty cool. He wasn't just a guy that's going to say, hey, come to my class, give me your money, and I'll see you for a couple hours and then be gone. He actually was involved with the class and all of that. So that was a really cool thing. Lavin Bravo Grunt says, I respected him driving en route Irish in Iraq without any armor, going balls to the wall in soft skin vehicle. Takes a lot of balls to do that. It takes a lot of balls to do what a lot of people do. I don't think Yeager was a lot of things. I think that a lot of people know stories or have heard stories about years and years ago, and whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter to me. It has nothing to do with me. That's between you and him or whatever you believe. I will tell you that regardless of what happened overseas with him years and years ago, I can tell you that when you have, I bet you he's probably had 500,000 people come through his training. Maybe more than that. I don't know, over the years. If you have that many people come through training, you're doing something right. Because over the years, if you're not doing it right, word of mouth and truth gets out. And it is what it is. He helped a lot of people in this country and this world that came to train with him. You know, it's he helped a lot of people. I'll put it that way. He and his staff, very professional, very, very, very knowledgeable. You can sit there and say who are the great instructors in the country or in the world, and if you start doing a top 10 best instructors, he's going to pop up on everybody's list. You even ask that what other people would consider the top instructors in the country, and you ask them who their top 5 or top 10, he's going to show up on all those lists. And if you're not good at what you do, you don't have 500,000 people come and take your classes over the years, because you'll get found out pretty quickly that you don't know what you're doing. So for doing as long as he did at the level that he did, you know, one of my things, and this is going to be interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, he went way too soon. He liked helping people. I think he did. I think he liked helping people. I think helping is a strange word, because he ends up helping people whether they want it or not, whether they know that they're getting help or not. I think the best thing that James did was put you in a situation where you're either going to learn or you're going to get out and you're going to be in way over your head. Either way, you're being helped, because if you can't handle the stress, if you can't handle the mindset, that can't handle the physical side of shooting a gun and protecting you and your family, and you were in his class and you basically found that out and you went home and sold your guns, I mean, he helped you. He helped you realize this isn't the life for you. He also helps obviously get people better, but you know, the flip side of that is also, you know, if you went to one of his classes and you were in way over your head and you realize this is not for me, I do not want to be a gunfighter or whatever, he's helped you. He's helped you make that decision, whether you wanted to hear that or not. He did help most people. I would be willing to bet that the vast majority, I wouldn't say 100%, but I'd say probably at least 98% of the people, if you poll every person that ever took a class from Yeager and asked them, did you get something out of his class? I think the answer is overwhelmingly yes. And that's just the way it is. So yeah. Sorry, Clove, I kind of just went off on a ramble there for a second.
No, that was good.
So anyways, I want to go ahead and let you kind of finish your story about James.
I think I was pretty much done. It's just that, yeah, I mean, had many a conversations. Again, not an alum, never took his class, was, you know, not opposed to doing it. It's just, you know, the stars didn't align. And he was adamant. He was really adamant about getting me to a class and trying to change my mind. I don't think he would have, because it's not like I have never been to classes before. I've been to plenty of them.
Right. Yeah.
But
right.
But I mean, he never gave up. You know, I give him that. And and you know, just the conversations. You know, that was always the whole training thing was always a sticking point, right? And you know, but that wasn't all of the conversations that we had. You know.
Yeah.
And we had conversations, you know, pertaining to, you know, charities and benefits, and you know, a lot of people just don't realize that, you know, they see, and we know this to be true with a lot of people. So, you know, it's I hate to say this, but a lot of people don't like me, right? So I guess I can say it with some kind of
I don't like you.
Right.
And you don't
exactly.
like me. That's okay.
No, yeah, exactly. So, but you're gonna get what I'm saying here. But a lot of the people that we like on YouTube, we hate in real life, and the people we hate on YouTube are amazing people in real life. It's almost a flip flop effect. And it's almost always that way, which is crazy. It's like I really don't like their content and what they do and what they put out, you know, and the way they present themselves, you know, and then you meet that person in real life and you're like, you know what, this is a solid guy or gal, right? And it's like, you know, they're a really good person. It's like I wished other people could see past the, what is the word? I mean, I don't want to say the showmanship, but maybe that's part of it, right?
Sure.
And actually get a sense of what's underneath. And that's one thing that I'll always be, never was able to make his training. But I'll always be happy that I was given the opportunity to get past the facade, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, for sure. I think, and you and I have had this conversation before. I think Yeager's a lot like Yankee in a way, where a lot of people don't like Yankee. But if you've ever been around Yankee or Yeager and met them and talked with them, you'll notice two things right off the bat. Whatever they're talking about, it doesn't matter what it is they're talking about. Whatever they are talking about at the time, they're going to be very passionate about it. And two, they are exactly what you think they are in real life. And that's, how do I put that? Refreshing to know that there is. Do they take a little advantage of it on the YouTube side and go a little bit far? Yeah, but they're not completely different in person. They're very much like what they are. The brashness, the honesty, good or bad, whether you take that good or bad, but the passion, the pride. I think a lot of it comes down to, if you're one of those people that want someone to blow smoke up your ass, you probably won't enjoy them. If you like someone that's real, whether you agree with him or not, and someone said it earlier, I think he enjoyed it when people didn't agree with him. I think he appreciated it and welcomed that conversation. And just like he did with me, he's like, look, don't judge me before you come train with me. I don't care what you think of me as a YouTube guy. I don't care what you think of me about anything. I want you to come train with me and then judge me. Boom. Right. Okay. Not a problem.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, you have movies, right, that are about like real people. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I mean, take the Facebook movie or whatever. Take any of that, anything that's based on a real person. And like, that's a real person, and so like some of that is true, right? But then there's a lot of creative liberty as well, right?
Absolutely,
so
sure.
The actor's portrayal.
There has to be, right?
That's part of the online persona and the public persona and stuff like that. And so it's never going to be. They're never going to be 100% in alignment. I mean, I'm that way.
Yeah.
We're all that way to an extent. You don't get into a lot of personal stuff on your channel. I don't as well, but there's certain things that, I curse like a sailor in real life. Everybody that's ever spent any time with me knows that. You can count on one hand the number of chats and stuff you find and bring up with clips of me cursing online. I don't do it.
Right.
And it's just
a
choice, right? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wonderful thing about doing your podcast is I don't have to. I can stop and you'll finish it for me, which is great.
This is true. Philip out there says, I remember when he got kicked off YouTube, he came right back and built it bigger and better. Not many people have it in them to bounce back like that. I really have to hand it to him for that. Absolutely. Not only did he build his YouTube channel back bigger and better than it was before, he started Liberty TV and did a lot of stuff that forced him to look at his business model and look at what he was doing in the social media world and created this whole other platform and all of that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. He did a lot of things. Buck out there says, Ghost, didn't somebody's gun break and James gave him his gun to finish the class? Yeah. So one of the guys that were staying with me over at Racks and Rucks, which is kind of like a little, I don't know, barracks that a lot of people stay in that take tactical response, and was started by one of the alums and all of that. And I stayed there, and there's about, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that stayed there. But the guy that I kind of was talking to the most, he took, I remember, I I want to say he took like a Smith & Wesson, like, was it the old SDVE? The one that just never, it was not a very good gun. That's what he brought, but that's what he had. And James said, hey, bring what you have. And about 100 rounds into it, we went through about 700, 800 rounds that weekend. It was a 2-day thing. About 100 rounds into that class, this guy's gun just stopped. Like, it just, like, nope, not gonna handle. I can't handle this. I'm done. So James had one of his armors come over and try to figure it out and all of that. And the guy was like, man, blah, blah, blah. It had mud in it and all that. James literally took a Glock 19 from his holster, and then went to his thing and got about 2 or 3 extra magazines. And he said, keep this for the weekend, finish the training with this, give it back to me before you leave. The gun from his holster right then and there. I was there when it happened. And, hey, he just says, here, I want you to finish a training. Here's this. I'll go get you 3 or 4 more mags to fit it. And let's finish this. I think he actually even gave him a holster, went to his truck, got a holster that would, everything would fit. Not a problem. He just took the gun right off his hip and said, finish the training. Don't return this until tomorrow before you leave. And it was one of those things where, like, holy cow. Yeah. So the stuff like that. Now Jason out there says, if you want to learn to fight, would you hire Mr. Nice Guy? Probably not. Let's see here. Kind of going, trying to catch up through Everglades Concealed says, even the people who didn't like him respected the hell out of him. He was a genuine dude. Absolutely. Whether, like I said, whether you liked him or not, I don't think he cared if you liked him or not. Matter of fact, I know he didn't care if you liked him. I think he wanted you to respect the training, respect the firearms, respect whether it was his class or not, respect gunfighting for what it was. And I'll say this, that one of the cool things is when I look at trainers that I want to train with, and I go into this a lot, I tell people, if you're thinking about going to take some training, find out whoever you're going to go, the instructor you're going to train with, find out who they train with. Where do they go? Who do they learn from? And you'll find a lot of great instructors in this country have trained with James. And the thing about James is James trains with a lot of other people. He goes to a lot of other people's classes. And that's a pretty cool thing. That's something you always want to see. But yeah, very, 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 very genuine dude. Whether you liked him or not, the genuine asshole or whatever, he was genuine. And someone mentioned up there that he would fight for the 2A, and he fought for 2A in a lot of different ways that weren't noticeable. I don't think he was one of those that wanted to go on parade about saying I did this and I did that. I know that he took 2 hobbies of his, if you will, very seriously: shooting guns and riding motorcycles, right? And he would take really long motorcycle trips throughout the year and go up all over the place. And he would carry on all of those. And you had to think that there was some conversations that were started about guns that with people that weren't gun people, that were bike people, that might have asked, why are you carrying a gun and all that? And I'm sure, I know that James did help in a lot of ways, financially, with support, with a lot of different things. But, and one of the things I liked about James as well, and he was not afraid, even though there were companies that he worked with that might have even sponsored him or Tactical Response or whatever. But if he ever had issues with firearms or those companies, he'd go out and put a video out there bashing such firearm. And he's like, look, no one's above, no one's above, sometimes people just put out bad guns. And even though you're a sponsor or we work together, we've known each other for a long time. And that's just one of those things. If it is what it is, then it is what it is. And so integrity is a big thing. And I can't speak for his whole life. I can speak for the few short years that I got to know him. I never knew him to be anything but honest and have integrity on everything that he did. So Phillips says, when he got shut down from YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, he said what needed to be said. He wasn't afraid to man up. He was true to his heart. Once again, whether you agree with what he said or not, whether you liked him or not, he was going to speak his mind. And I tell people all the time, I speak my mind pretty frequently. Clover knows this to be true in a lot of ways. I sleep well at night. I don't really have regrets in my life, and I know that James probably had very few regrets in his life. Yeah, it was a good dude. Once again, he belongs in the conversation of the top. I wouldn't say Mount Rushmore. Maybe I do. I don't know. I definitely think he's a top 10 firearms instructor, maybe ever. And Pink is going to be here in a little bit. And Rob is a very well-known, very well-respected instructor in our community. And I know that Rob, we've been talking back and forth the last few days, and Rob had some interesting conversations with James in the last few weeks. And I know that Rob respects the hell out of Yeager, and Rob is trained with Yeager and all of that stuff. So, I mean, when other instructors, is he going to like every instructor? Or is every instructor going to like him? No. Is everyone going to respect his curriculum? No. Everyone's got their own little ways of doing things. But, I tell you, Clove, some of the videos that I put out through my training with Yeager, a lot of people freaked out and were blasting the fact that on a certain couple drills they have, the instructors are out in front of the student, not in a direct line, but off at an angle, but they're in front. They've broken that 180, if you will. And a lot of people will say that that's unsafe and all of that. And I don't necessarily disagree with them. I think that the idea of an instructor out in front during certain drills could be unsafe. But that was how he did it. And that's how his instructors did it. And they wanted you to be a little nervous. They wanted you to make sure that every time you pull a trigger, you are making sure you know where everybody is, including that person off at a 45-degree angle. They wanted to make sure that they could see everything that they needed to see to help you out. But more importantly, it wasn't just that. It was, if you're going to shoot, you need to be aware where everybody is, whether the friend or foe. So if you've got an instructor over here, he's simulating a friend at a 45-degree angle. Are you not going to shoot in a firefight if someone's in that 45-degree angle? I think you will. But you have to be aware of where they are and cognitive of, are they friend or foe? So I think a lot of it has to do with them trying to teach you certain things. So it is what it is. I know that's probably a strange thing, but I know you've heard me talk about it. Other people talk about the instructors being unsafe. I never found it to be unsafe, I
think with the level of the course, I mean, I don't ultimately have a problem with it. Now, if I was teaching a beginner class, I certainly would not be, I know it would not be like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a lot of classroom and stuff like that before it ever got to that point, correct?
Well, and see, I don't know how it normally goes. We got literally about 4 inches of rain. So it's a Saturday, Sunday thing. You meet up at like 8 o'clock Saturday morning. We made up at the shop, at the response shop, and it was balls to the wall, pouring ass rain. And it literally rained like 4 inches that morning. If Clayton was out there, he'll remember that. So we went ahead and, while it was raining Saturday morning, we went ahead and did all of the classroom for that till lunchtime. from like 8 till 12. Then we broke for lunch, and then we went down to the range after that. I don't know if how that normally goes. I don't know when. I know that Budget said that they did the classroom like Saturday afternoon. So and maybe every weekend's different. I don't know. In my particular with Fighting Pistol, yeah, we had about 4 hours of classroom stuff before we even went to the range. But I don't know if that's how it normally went or because it was raining balls. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I hear you.
But yes, in my particular situation, yes, we had classroom. And I'm assuming there'd be classroom regardless. I don't know if he would go the whole 4 hours and do all of it at once like he did with us. Or, like I said, we didn't meet at the range. We met at Tactical Response in the shop in the office. And so I'm assuming there would have been some sort of, safety brief, go over some of that stuff. So there would have been some classroom. I don't know whether he normally went through the full 4 hours or not. Just because it was raining. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and depending on the angle too, a lot of time. I mean, it can look worse than it actually is. I know that
absolutely, and usually it does. Yeah.
A good example that I've got. My wife did photography back when we did, youth shooting sports for decades, and often got this deal of, oh man, she's past the firing line, or this, that, and the other.
Right.
You got to be, and it's like, well, the perception of the angles and stuff sometimes are not nearly as exaggerated or extreme as what they can look. You're talking about, with cameras and, wide angle and some of the different, things that you have going on there. So, and when if you're talking about, I mean, it's not like you have somebody oblivious downrange. That's a whole separate issue, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're firing and
he's not out there walking around the targets and all that,
Yeah. I mean,
a Sunday stroll, if you will.
Yeah, just totally oblivious to what else is going on. There's a big difference between that and somebody that's focused and aware of what's going on. And when you've got a situation like that, and you've got the angle is right, if that's be a really, really extreme case, right? I mean, you're more apt to get shot standing back at the tables, somebody loading or something, and accidentally doing something.
Sure.
The odds would be just as good, which aren't great. They would be astronomically low. So I think a combination of that, again, I go back to just the sheer level of the course. If you had kids out there, if you had newbies out there, people that first time firing owners, things like that. I mean, I got to think they probably wouldn't be quite that extreme with being downrange on the side of the firing line. But it's probably because they would be closer to those students, right? Students being able to hear them, being able to help them out, being able to do things. So not necessarily because they wouldn't be over there, but because they're just needed in a different position or a different spot, right? But you got to realize too that and this is where video comes into play. But if you go to a class, I mean, they've got to try to ascertain and discern everything that's going on right there in real time. And so you've got to be able to get multiple angles, because if somebody's just standing behind you while you shoot, they're not going to be able to tell little things that you may not be doing right.
Yep.
For us, we used video and photography to help us with that, because I'm not getting out in front of no kid with a shotgun.
No, I hear you. I understand.
But you see what I'm getting at. I mean, it's impossible to tell, to instruct somebody and try to line them out of bad habits or whatever they're doing wrong. If you can't get the right angles to be able to see that sort of stuff.
And in the defense of the instructors, I don't recall. I might be wrong. I don't recall them being out there with every single person. They might have been able to pick out pretty quickly people that they felt safe with. Maybe I was one of the I might have been one of the people that he felt safe being out there with, and there might be other people that he was like, I think I'll stay back with this one. I don't remember.
And that's understandable. I mean, I have stood we're gonna say down range, but
Sure.
we're talking about angles and stuff. That's weird. I got an
Yep.
echo all of a sudden. With my youngest daughter shooting, I've done it with people before.
Right.
Where you get borderline in a not behind the target like you're talking about or anything crazy like that. But yeah, I mean, with people you're comfortable, I totally understand, right? It's like not. But again, they're aware I'm there. I'm aware they're aware I'm there. It's a big difference than I'm just going to walk out in front of everybody.
It's not like it was with Charlie.
Oh my God, when Memphis
was out there, so he's, oh yeah, go ahead and shoot, not a problem. I'm like, what?
It's a wonder I didn't shoot that dog, man. To this day, I don't know how you escaped that.
I don't know, but yeah, no, and it's one of those where, like I said, I think you're probably hitting on it. To be able to critique and gain a knowledge of what those instructors have to work on with each individual student, they're going to have to be able to see certain things, and maybe they're looking for something very, very specific. Who knows? But I do know that there, over the years, have been a lot of hate about, well, he has his instructors in front of you. Well, they're not in front of me. They're at an angle. They are in front of the 180. Yes. But I promise you, if my muzzle ever got to the point where it's even closing in on that angle, I would not have liked that, probably. You know what I'm saying? Rob says he's in the waiting room, and I don't see you in the waiting room. If you're on your phone,
he probably clicked the wrong chat.
He might have given the wrong. I'm going to go ahead and send that link to you through text, Rob. I'm sure he's on his phone, because I don't even know where he's at. There's no telling where the man of travel and mystery is. But I am not seeing him in the waiting room. And since you have complete control as well, Clover, do you see him in the waiting room?
I do not, no.
Because you would be able to see him as well, since I have not relinquished the power given to you. So
I would. Well, I forget that I have the power, right?
Yeah.
I come in and I don't have to wait on you to add me when I come in. I come in earlier and was just sitting there like a dummy.
But, you could have just added yourself, couldn't you? And then said,
I respect the power.
No, it has nothing to do with that. You just forgot.
That's true.
No, we're gonna wait for Rob, because I know, let's talk with Rob. Text back and forth with him a few days ago, and he had sent a text to Yeager the night before, and all of that. But I know Rob has had some story. He's known him for a hell of a lot longer than I have or you have, and once he jumps in, we'll get him in. But I don't know if he's clicking the wrong link or what.
Well, as many social medias as he's on, we know that he's not technically inept.
No, he the problem with Rob is Baby Pinkus isn't there to show him how to get the old grandpa on the phone. Oh, there he is. I didn't mean to talk shit about you.
I can put my readers on if that helps.
You are. I tell you what, and you're getting whiter and whiter every time we see you.
I remember when I used to be excited because the gray would somehow give me legitimacy, because guys like Ken Hackathorn wouldn't think I was like some teenager out on the range. But I'm way past that now.
Yeah, I think the secret's out, my man. But no, I don't know where you are. I don't necessarily want you to tell people where you are, because you have multiple headquarters, HQs, but things are coming on, and I know that you've known James for a long, long time, a lot longer than I have and Clover has, and we've been talking about the good side and the bad side of James, and James had a lot of demons, but James didn't care about his demons. He wasn't going to talk about those, but he's not going to walk away from them. But what I told people before, as an instructor, say what you want to about the person, the man, the persona, if you will, as an instructor, I have a high level of respect for his pride, his passion, his attention to detail. His staff, his instructors are all first class. And I was telling him that, I judge instructors on who they train with. If they're the ones that are arrogant and say, I don't need to train with other people, he went and trained with other instructors and took their classes, and they took his classes. And I know that you guys have done that over the years and all that. From an instructor side, we'll get into the personal stuff that you guys have jagged each other on. But from an instructor side, I was saying earlier, you ask some of the top instructors in the country, and you're one of them. I would say that most of the top instructors would consider him a top instructor. I mean, he had the respect, whether you like the man or not. I think he had the respect of that community as well. Did he not?
He did. He ran good courses, and he developed a great team, and his students found value in his curriculum. And I don't know how else. And he had a successful business, right? So I don't know how else one is going to kind of pile on the yeses and nos. Was someone a good instructor? Was someone a respectable instructor? I mean, he certainly hit on all of those marks, right? And we can debate, nuances, and he and I certainly have debated some nuances of technique, or even as I was getting on, I heard you guys talk. I was I'm out in Colorado at the Western headquarters, and I was with my younger daughter. And I had to get her fed, and we had some dinner and caught up a little bit because I've been back east for about a week, and that's why I jumped on a little late. But while I was listening a little bit in the background, and I just heard you guys talking about some of the controversy stuff, and I think that, and I saw you said you wanted to wait on the personal stuff, but I think that a lot of his personality, like all of us, who are really developing our own curriculums and developing our own stuff, and not just teaching what the Navy taught us or teaching what Law Enforcement Academy taught us, but the guys who are really developing curriculum, our personalities are going to be embedded in the methodology. And with James, I think there are some things about his curriculum, and especially about the way he did instructor development and build his team, that surprise a lot of people to find out when they kind of peel back some of those curtains, because I think a lot of people thought that he was very unconsidered, or maybe even recklessly loose with things, and he really wasn't. He was pretty calculating. He was a pretty sincere guy. He was a thoughtful guy, and not calculating in a bad way. Just like he would actually look at the landscape and say, okay, is this what I need to do for my students? How do I do it the best way that I think I can? And also, how do I make it repeatable for the other guys who are going to be teaching? Because it's been a lot of years since he was teaching all the courses under tactical response, right? If ever, right? And he certainly has had some great AIs out there and has built a real team. Some people take instructor development they do it very loosely. They just run instructor development classes, and they say things like, well, I'm just going to run a class, and I'm not going to certify you as an instructor. You're not working for me. You're not getting my stamp of approval. I just want to teach you some things. And unfortunately, I think the end user, the student that takes that course, sometimes gets left in a lurch. I don't know anybody who ever took instructor development, any advice so much from Yeager, that Yeager wasn't going to own it and say, yeah, I think this is what you should do, and explain, here's why. And he was really good about that. He wasn't as into the long lectures, I guess, maybe as I am when it comes to explaining the techniques, but he was always ready to talk about the why of a tactic, or the why of a training methodology, and some of the things that were very controversial. So I think that he definitely earned the respect of. I made a comment. Mickey, carry trainer, he put out a long post a couple days ago, and mine was pretty short. I was engaged in thinking about James a lot last week, because I was coming through Tennessee. I was actually planning on stopping by, and my post on Friday was really just kind of literally what was going through my head. Mickey's post was one that I think is really representative of a lot of people's experiences with James. And I've known James for over 20 years, going way back. I mean, we used to throw parties, co-host parties with him, and SWAT magazine. I was kind of representing the SWAT magazine team, and he had his tactical response team in Gemtech. We used to rent houses, back in the old days. And I mean, this is late 90s, early 2000s at SHOT Shows. So there was a lot of good times were had, and there's a lot of memories that come rushing back certainly over the last, whatever it's been, almost a year since James, told everybody what's been going on. And I spent some time there with him in July and talked to his family and things like that. And we spent a lot more time together, let's say 8 to 15 years ago. And then, even going further back than that than we did in the last few years.
Right.
But one of the things I always liked about the way he did things, which is very, very different, by the way, from the way I do things with my instructor team, is he held them very, very, very accountable to a specific, like, this is what you're doing at 9, this is what you're doing at 10. I remember sitting in his truck after I took fighting rifle, and he was not at all on the range with us. It was one of the other guys that taught it. And he asked me what I thought of the guy and what I thought of the class. And I said it was a really well-run class. The curriculum is solid. It's probably overlapped with stuff I do 70, 80%, which is about, I change my class from minute to minute. And that's part of this difference in methodology. James really didn't.
Right.
And when he did make a change, it was like codified. So one of the things I said to him, sitting in his truck, and I said, but this guy, I know he's been teaching with James for a long time. I said, he knows this curriculum, right? Oh, sure. Of course he does. Why did you? And I said, well, it's every drill, like every 3 minutes, like he's looking at this 3-ring binder with like plastic coated covered sheets. And he's like, I found it odd as an instructor who knew that he knew what he was doing and what he was talking about, that he kind of kept looking at this list. Like, did you guys change the curriculum recently or something? And he said, no, actually I have my guys do that with certain classes because they are so structured. And because a lot of different guys teach it, I want them to all be on exactly the same page. And we got into a deep dialogue about, but what if the students aren't ready for the 10:30 thing at 10:30? And it was really easy for him to say, well, of course, they can always throw a flag and say, we're not going to do this because of, the or the student or the whatever. But generally, he likes them to, he felt like it was a part of the methodology to constantly be referring back to the core, here's what you're supposed to be doing. Whereas my guys, I tell them if they ever look at their notes and they're teaching a class, they may as well retire. They shouldn't need to look at their notes. Look at your notes while the students are reloading, if you need to, but you should you should know this stuff before you step out on the range and be able to customize the schedule to the guys. So that was one of the areas where, again, I always say, like, I'm not going to agree with somebody. That's okay, but I need to understand them. And James was always real patient. And going back to Mickey's post, my comment was under his that he was a real if you know kind of guy. And because Mickey's post talked about how he kind of thought this guy was a jerk and he didn't like some of the stuff.
I was that guy. You remember? I thought he was a jerk, and then I went and trained with him.
And I get it.
A lot different.
And he some people told him, like, people that he respected said, no, you guys, do you even know the guy? You got to get to know the guy. And that really turned him around, and he started looking at it differently. And I'll say, probably my James story when it comes to his online persona and the difference between the way he came at the online stuff versus the interpersonal stuff was, when he did his pack your bags thing. And I was out at Vegas. I was in Vegas. I think I was teaching before SHOT Show. It was that week before SHOT Show. Yeah. And like, I got a bunch of people call me or text me or whatever, like, James, he's lost his mind. What's going on with James? He's lost his mind. I'm like, what? James, like, it's Tuesday. I don't know, man. Like, what? So I texted him. I'm like, hey, man, you all right?
He could have. We don't know.
All good. And then I got on. I said, give me a call if you get a chance. And I hadn't even looked at YouTube or anything else. Somebody said he's really, gone over the edge, and a couple people did within a few minutes. I was like, let me just call him. I don't need to see YouTube. So he called me up, and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm just, whatever, getting ready to go out SHOT Show. You out there already? Oh yeah, I'm out there already. I go, what's this pack your bags thing? He goes, oh man, that's, it's just the internet. Like, that's people all riled up. I just said some things, and I only bag. I'm like, well, are you packing your bags? Are you like going to the mountains? What are you doing? And this is before the Bundy Ranch stuff and all this. This is like going way back, right? And he's like, nah, he literally said, only bag I'm packing is to go to SHOT Show, man. That's
go to Vegas,
the internet is the internet. I'm like, all right, cool. So then people were asking, and I'm busy out in Vegas, so I'm not paying that much attention. Well, this thing blew up, right? He ended up not coming to SHOT Show, got his concealed carry permit, take all this stuff. And I talked to him during the week, and he's like, yeah, that one got a little out of control. Okay, well, then by then I had seen it. I'm like, well, some of the things you said, man, like, I get it. You got the online thing, but come on. So when he, 2 weeks later, whatever it was, week after, he's lawyered up. He's like the most contrite, demure Yeager anybody's ever seen in public. Like,
Ever. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I overspoke. I'm paraphrasing. That's what we all got, right? And he's sitting there with the lawyer, the whole thing. So I talked to him after that, and it was probably like the one time that I just like, I'm going to give James some advice, not in a conversation we were having, not because we were on the range together, but I'm going to tell him something that he should do because I think I know. And I said, man, like, listen, you're like one of the literally nicest guys in this community. You are like the epitome of the guy who will give you the shirt off your back. Like you converted half your house.
He will literally give you shirt off his back.
Yeah, like half your house is a bunkhouse for students, man. Like
for students so that you stay for free.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a revenue. So like all these examples, right? And he's known a lot of friends and all that back to back. So I'm like, why don't you just own that, man? Like you've revealed it, right? Like you were the contrite guy. Like why don't from this point forward just keep that tone, right? Keep that vibe, keep that energy, as we might say now, but whatever words I was using then, like just go with that, man, because that's who you are. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I got a lot of thinking to do, this and that, whatever. But, it'll be fine. It'll be good. Okay, cool. Move on, and it's like a month later and he's like,
he's back.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Like, but I did like, I had to say it out loud because he actually now, like, another decade gone by, James is one of the best examples of not caring about what other people think, but in the right way. A lot of people say like, oh, I don't give a F and I don't zero. And I like, they say it, they don't mean it. And it's very clear that they're almost like thinking they're saying it is going to make people think a certain way about them. So they're saying they don't care how people think about him. James absolutely did not care in certain ways about what people thought.
But 100% cared about, exactly.
Yeah, in other ways, he cared more than 99% of the instructors out in this industry about what people thought. And that was, and there's a big, big difference. And if you knew, you knew. And if you saw it, you saw it. And once you saw it, you sort of couldn't take it back. And that's why so many people have defended him when his name comes up. That's why, Mickey had that experience. And I've had that. I've been on the other side of that experience where I've had to say, you heard me like giving him shit about something, or you saw me say, I didn't think what he was doing on the range that right there was okay. Or whatever, and I don't like muzzle up, and I like muzzle down, like
absolutely,
whatever. But at the end of the day, I also know he is literally one of the nicest guys in the industry. So badmouth him like on your like the whole. I remember the whole thing for a while, and it kind of went away. But like the whole, he's a coward. He ran from an ambush, and it's like, look, the emergency brake was like once you explain it, like what he did was exactly what he should have done.
What you're supposed to do. It's correct.
That he made a mistake. It's not like he like did something on purpose to avoid a fight. That's what a coward does. I mean, and he's admitted, he's like, yeah, it was a dumb mistake, but the execution of everything from the mistake was fine. I think he probably spent some more time defending things that in retrospect, he never needed to defend, and I think he learned that over the years, and it kind of reinforced his idea that there's just some things I'm not going to care about. And there's other things I'm going to care a lot about. And that's what I think I respect most about him, because I have a hard time like getting I think it's probably pretty clear when I'm passionately interested in somebody thinking something or learning something or caring about something. I'm not as good on the other side. And the other side of just, not wanting to save everybody or not wanting everybody to like at least get that I'm trying to do the best I can. And he really didn't care if you didn't know that, because he knew the people that he was really influencing knew that. And he had that kind of confidence. And that was something I definitely admired about him. But I wanted to jump on tonight and, when you told me what you're doing and share some thoughts, like I said, we've been friends. We're the kind of friends that didn't need to talk every day. But I did, I'm glad that we got to spend some time together in July. And I had texted him Thursday night.
I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't know if that you want to make that public. But when you text me, I sent a smart ass and he told me what you said to him the night before. That's kind of a cool thing. Ironically, a cool thing that you did the night before,
Well, I had been talking with a couple of guys.
I think he probably appreciated, honestly, knowing him.
In my brain, I've talked to one of the family members, and you know, they have a very busy week, and
Yeah.
I was actually talking to Don Edwards, another good friend of James,
Mhm.
good friend of mine, Green Line Tactical. He's on his way out west, or he's out west now. He was on his way out at the same time I was yesterday, going out to teach a class in California. And I've got an event at Whittington Center this weekend, and I'm going to teach in Massachusetts. And we both 1,000% know that James would tell us we were complete dumbasses if we neglected
showed
the
up
event
on
and the students and the things we were doing to go hang out at the bonfire. And everybody's gonna have a good time. And I know there's gonna be a bunch of good people there, and I'd love to, you know, be part of that camaraderie. But at the same time, I don't think that's an honor to James in the way.
I'll put it to you this way: had it been you, he would have gone to teach his class.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
100%,
No doubt.
100%.
You know? And the only way that would be different is if I had to send him a note and said, you know, if I'd have seen him the month before and said, look, man, when this all goes down, I know it's going to happen at some point. I would love for you to be there. He would find a way to be there, you know, and I
100%.
think the message that his family read very much says what it says, and it doesn't, none of it's surprising to anybody who knew James. You know, the idea that everybody's getting together, and people need that, right? And the family needs that. And I'm going to go, like I said, I will continue to talk to him. One of the last conversations I had with James was about the fact that I hadn't taught in Camden in a number of years.
Yeah.
And I committed to him 100% that, you know, I'll get something on the schedule next year, and I'll figure it out. And he kind of made a comment, you know, well, you're going to have to deal with, you pointed at Joey, actually. He said, well, you're going to have to deal with him, you know, not me. And I said, well, we'll see. We'll worry about that later. But either way, you know, so I'm going to do that. Don and I talked about that, maybe doing a team up class and making sure that, you know, the money goes to the right place while we're down there, wherever that fund ends up settling, whatever the family.
Let me know when that happens. I'll be there.
It'd be a good time. But I think that all of the things I'm seeing online, and I really like seeing them, but it's almost like I wish some of those things had been said 6 months, not even 6 months ago, like 6 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago, or 10 years ago, and all that stuff, because it is one of those things where if somebody had posted like a training tip from Yeager, the comments would have been very mixed. And guys who are now saying things like, I mean, I've probably said it all along, but maybe I haven't gone out of my way to say it publicly. I haven't jumped into all the comments like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Like, I wish more people had done that, because I've been surprised by some of the people that I've seen posting, and I'm not saying they're being disingenuous at all. I've been surprised by the people who've been posting these last few days who genuinely, clearly knew James and had a relationship with him, or respect for him, that I would never have thought would have. And I'm thinking, well, gee, were there 5 other people, or 10 other people, or 15 other people on Earth that might have had their thought process corrected about James if that person had been more vocal about the fact that they knew the real deal, you know? And so when I think about that, and I think about some of the other people in the community that maybe are controversial a little bit, you know, I'm dropping any names right now, but there's definitely people in my mind that it's occurred to me over the last 3, 4, 5 days that I don't need to wait until they die or they get really sick to say, yeah, I understand why you don't agree with that, or I understand why that was kind of, you know, dickish, but there's a bigger picture on that guy. And I think that's something that we can all see right now playing out. And like I said, and I don't know, maybe I'm that guy for some people, but there's definitely people we can think of who we know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
don't like them, or a lot of people think they're a net negative on the industry. And the fact is they're not a net negative. They're huge positives, but there's these 1 or 2 little things that stick in people's minds about this one incident, or this one thing they said, or this one interview that didn't go well. And James is a brilliant example of that. But I think it comes down to the way he expertly balanced really caring and not caring at the same time.
Yeah. And we talked about the legacy of Yeager. And I think that we talked about earlier before you jumped on, you know, if an instructor doesn't get to 500,000 students over a 20-year span, if they don't know what they're talking about, if you're not good at what you do, you're going to be found out pretty quickly, and people just will stop coming to you. Like I said, he challenged me publicly saying, hey, you don't like me, that's cool, come train with me, don't judge me until you train with me. And I took him up on that, and I said, you know what, that's fair, because I felt like, you know what, I had judged this guy off of what I saw on YouTube and you hear. I said, I'm going to go spend some time with him, and he was very he was great, and I told people from that point on, I may not watch his YouTube stuff, I may not, and I haven't for years, but you'll never hear me say a bad word about his passion, his pride that he takes in being professional, his staff, everyone, every from the top to bottom at Tactical Response. You go spend 2 days with those guys and you don't get something out of that, whatever class you take, then you haven't been trying hard enough to get something out of that class. And that's all I can say about, and that's all I think when I judge instructors, ultimately it comes down to, are they passionate? I don't have to agree with their tactics. I don't like the muzzle up either. While I was there for those 48 hours, I went muzzle up because I respected the curriculum at the time. But you can take things from every instructor home and make your own. But that's how I judge is, are they passionate? Obviously, are they knowledgeable? You know, are they unsafe? He's never unsafe. But did he change you in any way for the better? And I said earlier, you know, if you take a poll of 500,000 people that have taken a class with him, I'm not saying it's going to be unanimous, but I would be willing to bet 98% if you truthfully polled every single student, did you get something out of this class? The answer is going to be yes. And I don't know about the fighting rifle, but the fighting pistol, the mindset lecture, we talked about this before. The mindset lecture is as good as anything I've ever heard from any instructor ever. The mindset of being that gunfighter, that personal protector, if you will. The passion is there. The pride he takes in instructing. You don't have to agree with everything that he does. You don't have to utilize everything that he teaches you. But his passion for getting the most out of you, the pride that he takes in his staff and his curriculum is up there with everyone. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, ultimately he believed he was helping people. And I think ultimately he probably was helping people. And that's ultimately what it comes down to is, you know, firearm instructors, anyone can call themselves a firearm instructor, but until you've touched someone's life and given them the confidence, the techniques, the capabilities to be able to be your own self-protector, that doesn't happen very often. And he was one of those guys that took pride. He said from the very beginning, if you're one that doesn't like to carry one in the chamber, let me know. I'll refund your money right now because this is not going to be a class for you. But if you want to learn that confidence, and he did, there were some people that were in my class that felt confident. They went home. You know, it is what it is. I think one of the funniest stories with James that I remember is not about the class. It was, he put out a video, golly, 5 years ago, whenever it was. And he was talking about the free states and the slave states and with the 2A and all of that. And I didn't realize how do I put this? Protective that his group of followers are towards James. And I went in.
They don't mind.
It's a cult. It really is. And I was in there and I was just messing around, and I said, you know, and I made a comment like, you know, I really wish you wouldn't talk about free and slave states. That's insulting. There's a lot of people that you know, there's a lot of people that fought and lost their lives to end slavery. You know, just joking around, and I'm getting bashed by like 400 people about that. And I was like, whoa, okay, these people take James seriously. And then when I got to Tactical Response and became an alum and became part of this alumnus group and alumni, whatever, they're very passionate about James. They're very protective of James, and they're very they're quick to have his back. So he's got a small army out there, you know.
It for sure. That's true. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, you know, in Camden. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, because of that defensiveness of and just love, you know, that's what it is. It's just love for James and what he represents and what Tactical Response represents to so many people. You know, our industry doesn't really do Hey, Tyler. I talked to Tyler this weekend too. After this, we were talking about James. There's an inevitable like massive support that's going to happen, like for the family and for the business, right? Like, and I don't say inevitable like that. Like that's just going to happen. We know that's going to happen. I'm very concerned, and in my first posts about this last weekend, and I'm sure when I talk Friday before the weekend, and as we go forward, I think it's important for people to remember that, I've always said, people years ago, tactical response was on the list. I used to talk about like, Seeklander, tactical response, fighting pistol, a couple places where if you finished my class and people, where else should we train? I would say, here's good. And I may not agree with everything, but you're going to get greater than 50%, and it's going to be worth your time. There's some places where I would just say it's not even worth your time. And where I've gotten to is, look, if I didn't think you just took the best pistol course that's out there, then shame on me. Go take a medical class. Go take fighting rifle. If you just took a pistol class with me, go train with Don Edwards on a rifle. Go train with Alessandro with a knife. Like go learn how to bake pastries. Like there's all kinds of things you can do with your time. Just take the stuff you learned from me in the pistol class and go practice it. So what I said, and not, it doesn't in any way violate kind of that policy or that ethos that I've got as far as my classes. If somebody else is doing something better, I need to figure that out and like give them credit and use it or improve on it or whatever. I feel that way about all my classes, but I also know that the class curriculum list, like the course offerings, the tactical response, there's something there for everybody. There's something there that people, as you said, can benefit from and find interesting. And what I've said is, I know the alumni are going to go. I know that also there's going to be splintering. There's going to be somebody, some guy who's been an AI, and there's going to be two AIs, and they're going to go this way, they're going to go that way, and somebody's going to say you're not doing it right. Like that's inevitable. We do a horrible job in this community of legacy. We do a horrible job in this community. We as like passionate educators or half-ass instructors that are successful with the business, people that are popular on YouTube and get people to come to classes, like wherever you are on that spectrum, all of us have done a horrible job of passing on the legacy, right? If you look at like Gunsight, which is obviously the birthplace of the whole industry, it's gone through all kinds of, Gunsight this color, Gunsight orange, that Gunsight this, Gunsight that. It's kind of back to its roots with Ken Campbell running it. But for a long time, I mean, at one point there were, before Buzz Mills bought it, I knew the other guy who was potentially going to buy it, and he was talking to me about coming in. This is before the Valhalla days and being like some kind of director of operations there. Well, I would have turned that thing 90 degrees from its legacy, right? As had already happened anyway prior to.
Yeah, and Gunsight went through a little era where it wasn't, people weren't wanting to go to Gunsight at that point.
So it's gone back and forth and this and that, but it's survived. Most of the places don't even survive. You look at like Tom Gibbons Rangemaster, that facility doesn't exist anymore. You look at Thunder. I think a lot of people thought that there would be some legacy. There would be more legacy for a whole bunch of people. And again, I don't want to make this about other people. Focusing on James, I know there are people who are more than qualified to carry on the legacy of his classes, but I don't think there's someone that's going to be the personality. And what that means is we who love that family and care about the legacy and care about the lineage and that business remaining successful, we need to keep reminding people like there's something there, whether it's a force on force class or a medical class or a rifle class or the guest instructor that's going in there. Kevin Dixie's been teaching there, Don Edwards, a lot of our PDN guys. Like I said, I'm going to be going back. Like supporting that business, I think, is really important, not just thinking highly of James, because you're not going to find James there. You'll find James's legacy. You'll find James's family. You'll find James's curriculum, but even that's going to evolve over time. So just I think everybody needs to remember that, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, when this emotion kind of calms down, there's still some reality of support that I think is going to be important. And I'm looking forward also to seeing who out of that instructor group, and a lot of guys I don't know, a lot of the younger guys and some of the people that have been there forever, who really does sort of step into some of those roles. And I do think it's going to be multiple people that become.
I don't think that. I think that Yeager. I think Yeager had the personality. He had. I don't even know how to explain it, but he had definitely had a strong personality. He had the organizational skills. He had the leadership skills that he could be the one face of tactical response.
Right? Some of that was learned on the job.
I mean, 100%.
he was in great spirits when I was there in July, and as I understand, I know he went out on a motorcycle trip right after I was there. Apparently had a great time, and as I understand it, like he, was good. Like his brain was good, his heart was good, his attitude was good, like all the way through this last few months. As talking to people that've been around at different periods in it, certainly what I saw. And of course, we were giving each other shit like we normally do, and back and forth. And I said, it's kind of cool. Like I've known Fat James Yeager, I've known Jack James Yeager, and now I know Skinny James Yeager. Like, this man, like all of us, was an evolving human being. He was a lot of the stuff he learned on the job, right? Like if you Yeager in 2003 was not Yeager in 2020, and there were different versions of that, just like there have been different versions of me along the way, and of you and of everybody else. So giving people the space and grace that are involved with tactical response to find their way forward, I think is going to be really important, because there isn't one guy, and there isn't one ethos, and there isn't one leader anymore. It's a family, and then the alumni are a family, the instructor group's a family, the adjuncts and friends were an extended family, and then you've got the actual family there. It's going to be interesting to see how people rise to the occasion and where people need the support. So I think the real friends and the people that really care, we need to be looking for that. But
and something you brought up also with Camden earlier. Camden's a small town, guys. And Camden's a very small town. There are a lot of people that have businesses that survive solely because of James Yeager and tactical response over the last 20 years. I guarantee that Mexican restaurant is busier every weekend that there's a class than it is any other time during the week. And there is
the number of times I've been there. I didn't eat there the last time because actually it was funny. I got into town like 6 a.m. before the first day of class. A bunch of the other guys had gotten there the night before, and they went there, and 2 of them got sick. And I'm like, wait. The Mexican, and they're like, that's it. I'm like,
no way.
That's your weakness. That is no way that place like you showed up with that. Like you caught COVID on the plane. You got dysentery on the drive. Like you brought that to Camden. It was not that place. But the hotels, you're right. There's a lot going on there. And again, I think certainly in the short term, I'm not worried about any of that momentum.
No.
Might
even spike up a little bit. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think that we need to eye on the long game to support that business, because it's one that has, if nothing else, right? You can say what you want about his personality, say what you want about his politics, say what you want about the curriculum itself, the techniques, the tactics. If nothing else, there are, there's the numbers don't matter, because I was joking with him once when he first came out and said he does some number of thousands of students a year. I said, well, if I count everybody who watches PDN, I do millions a year. So go fuck yourself.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know how you're doing your math. I don't know how I'm doing my math. Here's what I know. Thousands of people have become dedicated.
A lot of people.
And when I say dedicated, I mean the people that practice constantly, the people that go to multiple classes, whether it's there or other places. Like there are thousands and thousands of people over especially the last 10 to 15 years, who he has influenced to become, as he says, and as you were saying, be better prepared and be ready to fight that
Absolutely.
fight. So I think that is worth honoring, and that is worth continuing. And again, it wasn't just him that's been doing that for the last decade.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be him that's doing it moving forward, but it's still the ethos and the mission of that community that is tactical response. So I'm going to jump off, man, but I appreciate you doing this tonight for the community and giving me a chance to share some thoughts because it's been interesting. And I did a 24-hour drive out from my place in Florida Sunday into Monday. And a lot of the time was spent thinking about James and the memories and looking at some of the old pictures and stuff like that. And he's a great dude.
Pictures when you both had hair. I bet you there's some pictures when you both had hair back in the day.
I don't think. No. I haven't had hair since. Well, that's not true. I may have had some hair. I may have had like a very close. Now that I'm thinking about it, there are pictures of us here with it. I'm reluctantly, but I also used to wear hats. See, I actually wore hats when I had hair, and now I don't really wear hats anymore.
And that might have been why you lost your hair a little bit.
I don't think
people say that if you wear hats now.
Pure weird genetics. But I think one of the things that I agree with him 1,000% on up until a few years ago, and I think it's one of the best contributions he's made to the community is like, all Glock should be 19s and all Glock should be 9mm and all 19 should be Gen 3, you know, that kind of thing. I think the 48 with the shield, that was the last argument we had 6 weeks ago was about shield mags in a Glock 48. Because I said, man, when are you going to give up on this? All guns should be Glocks and all Glocks should be 19s and all 19 should be 3rd gen. You know, the 48 with the shield mags trumps it for a lot of us scrawny guys. And that was when I was talking about, you know, now I know the skinny James Yeager, and he's like,
yeah.
So we debated back and forth on the shield mags, and that's the last argument we had. And I don't know, I'm still carrying one in my 48, so he didn't win.
And you talked about real quick. We talked about this earlier before you jumped on about him giving the shirt off his back. And there's a story when I was at Fighting Pistol, a guy brought in like his Smith & Wesson SDV 9 that just a trash gun, and it failed quickly in that class. But the guy, it's only gun the guy had, and James said, "Bring what you have," and it failed. He brought an armor over, couldn't get it fixed. James literally took it out of his holster, handed him a 19, went to his vehicle, got a 3 or 4 magazines and a holster, and he said, "Here, give them back to me tomorrow before you leave."
Yeah,
put the gun off his hip because he wanted that guy to finish the training. Literally will do whatever he needs to do for his students, and that's really ultimately what you can do with the guy. But I know you're busy. You got your daughter there. It was good catching up.
Thanks for letting us have a conversation while you're sitting there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I didn't even get to interact with you at all.
It's okay.
All right.
He's used to it.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know how it is when people ask one question, they put their picture up and they go like make dinner and bake cakes, and they come back and I'm still talking.
That's not an avatar. You know that. That's actually, people don't realize this is Clover's. This is not an avatar. That's what Clover really looks like. Rob, you know that.
Hey, I know I'm going to see him. Am I see you down in Dallas at the end of the month?
No.
Gun Rights Policy Conference?
I don't know if you'll see me.
You are going to be there, Clover?
I don't know. I'm still undecided.
So. All right. Well,
I'm going to try. I've got work.
If you were like
you 49 to November, and I'll be good.
Found out I was going, and it flips you.
Well, that definitely.
It's only a 6-hour drive. I might have to at least come and say, "Hey," knowing that you're going to be there.
It's 2.5 for me. That definitely tips the needle, but the needle was pretty far over.
But hell, I hadn't seen you since Vegas,
I'm bumping you a little closer. Maybe we'll see you there. If not, we'll catch up with you when we can, guys. Thank you.
I hope so. Yeah. Peace out. Yeah, thanks. Rob coming in and talking a little bit about he's known a lot longer, obviously, than you and I have, and he brought up a lot of great points. Yeah. One of the things that, and I was hoping Woodland might jump in. Because Woodland actually went to a class he went to, and Rob touched on his instructor development class. And that's a week-long class. It's a 5-day class. And Woodland went through it. And it wasn't like he's trying to teach you his methodology of how to teach. Like you're not going to go and then start teaching the tactical response way. What he wanted to make sure is instructors that went to his class that they learned how to be an instructor. They had homework every night, and they had to write out a plan, a lesson plan. They had to get up and give a speech to the class. Part of instructing is you have to be able to talk. Public speaking can't be a fear for you if you're going to be an instructor in anything. And I like the fact that hearing a lot of different people that went to that class that said it wasn't him trying to teach us the tactical response way. It was trying to make us better instructors. Whatever technology and whatever methodology and whatever tactics that you use in teaching, he wanted you to be a better instructor, because ultimately you being an instructor was going to help your students in becoming a better gunfighter or whatever. And that hit to me is like, you know what? He wasn't trying to sell his way. He was trying to make sure that when you left that 5-day instructor's course, that you learned how to be a better instructor. And at that point, you go do your own curriculum. But here's how he has found to be a successful instructor. And I respect that, because he wasn't trying to sell himself or his curriculum. He was trying to sell the idea of we need good instructors out there, whatever curriculum you're teaching, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's like here's how you develop things, right? Here's kind of the outline, right? Or the what it's like here's the blueprints, but
Right.
the materials you use, the colors you choose, that's up
Are
to you,
yours.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm totally. When Rob was talking, and when Rob comes in, you let Rob talk.
He takes over. Yeah, he takes over, and that's just the way. He's one of those guys, and I love Rob, but he's one of those guys. You say, "How you doing?" You better have 45 minutes for him to answer.
let's be honest. If you don't give Rob all the oxygen in the room, he will die.
He's going to take it. He's going to take it.
This is a fact. He will suffocate. He has to have all the oxygen in the room. Period.
Yep.
But talking about just talking about James, talking about behind the curtain and pulling back, getting behind the facade or whatever. Which, I touched on that earlier. I actually made a couple of notes because I knew Rob was going to go forever, and I'm like, I need to write this down or I'll forget. But you said something during that time about I didn't watch his videos, and I'll admit I've watched very few of them. But here's the thing: people that I know, people that I have met in person, people and not necessarily met in person. Maybe I've talked to them on the phone a ton, right? Maybe I whatever. But definitely people I have met in person. I've talked to. More than once, I've got a good idea of who that person is. I don't know about you, and I don't know about everybody else out there. It's hard for me to watch their videos.
Oh yeah,
and I don't honestly. I'd have to think about it, and this is not the time or place to know why that is. But it's just weird because like I know that person, and it's like. It's just odd. It's like because if I was having a conversation, I watch one of your videos, for example, and don't get me wrong.
And if I do watch your videos, it's there to give you a view, give you a thumbs up, crack you a smart ass joke in the comment. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Most of the time, it's just to support you. Yeah,
it's a support thing. Yeah, but we put them on in the background. You're right. It's a support thing usually if we watch it, right? And there's a reason for that. And it's like because it just seems odd, right? Because you make a video on whatever the latest whatever pistol you brought in, right? That you've got. How many conversations have we already had about that freaking pistol, right?
Yeah.
It's like I know everything you're going to say in that video, right? It's like I know that, so I could put it on mute and just watch a couple of shots and get the recoil, or see how accurate or did it pass the. All I care about is did it not jam up when it passed the crucible, or whatever.
Right.
Other than that, there's no point in it, right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I wrote down that I thought about. Was how many times and whether it's Yeager, whether it's other creators, I'm sure you get this in comments. We all do. I've seen it multiple times where people come in and they go blah 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 blah. I'm out. Blah 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 blah. Unsubbed, right? It's like one video, one thing said in one video. And they're never going to pay attention to you, do anything again. They're judging not only everything you've ever done, but everything
3 minutes of your life.
Right. They're judging not just your past, right? But they're judging your entire future on 3 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever, or actually a few seconds within that, right? And it's like, how moronic and idiotic is that? How I just don't get people that can do that, right? There are tons of people that I said it when we started that I don't agree with the way they put their content out or whatever, right? That doesn't mean at events we don't have some great conversation. That doesn't mean that from time to time I don't click on their videos.
That's right.
And it's because. Just because I don't like something they did doesn't mean that they're not going to provide some type of value or something, later on.
And it doesn't
I'm going to find
you're
something
a person, or it doesn't mean anything. It's just it's a video.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's the internet, right? And the internet emboldens people. That's another thing. And it's sad. Rob hit on that. But when you see things like Rob was talking about, there's people that come out, and as well as I do, something, if a customer has a bad experience, or a customer has a good experience, they're going to tell one or two or maybe three other people. If they have a bad experience, they're going to tell 100.
Everybody.
And it's going to be way more dramatic than when they tell the story, right?
Absolutely.
We know that. And so what is sad is, the internet works two ways. It's like it's this anonymous Wild West war zone where, we can anonymously tear each other apart, but then at the same time, the person you were tearing apart or participating in tearing apart, something happens. How many times has somebody simply got their YouTube channel deleted, right? Which happened to Yeager. How many people hated Yeager, and as soon as his YouTube channel got taken down, it was save Yeager, put Yeager back, rah, 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 right?
The whole save Yeager was a real thing for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like everyone save Yeager,
And it's the same way that Rob was talking about, that you've got people that, now have all of these good stories. And to Rob's point, a lot of them are genuine stories. And it's like, well, why didn't you say that before?
Yeah. 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 Jason up there, JS, said a comment from James I'll never forget. To be successful, work half a day. A half a day is 12 hours, not 4. Very true. Very true.
Unless you're Clover.
Then a half a day is about 2 hours.
Yeah, something like that. Plus a 15-minute break. Got the 15-minute break in between. Yeah.
That's the mandated 15-minute break every hour. Absolutely.
Yeah. Smoke break.
No doubt.
Got to.
I hear you. Yeah. Interesting. If you are an alum, then chances are you belong, or you've at least become a member of the Facebook alumni group, which I am in that Facebook group. And some cool stuff happening over there inside that group. If you are an alum and you're not part of that Facebook group, get over there and try to get in. It's some cool stuff going on inside that group, especially over the last few days. But yeah, I like the fact that Rob brought up that tactical response probably isn't going anywhere, guys. I was lucky that Yeager was heavily involved in the class that I took. He was there the whole time. Now, was he doing the instruction? No, he has his instructors doing the instruction, but he was there the whole time. A lot of times, they had 2 different waves. We had 50 people in this thing, so you had 2 different waves. So one wave would be on the fire line, the other wave would be back reload magazines, and he was back there in the back, just walking up and down. Hey, got any questions? What can you? And he wasn't there trying to be James Yeager. He was there. Hey, anybody got any questions? This is the time before we move on. Make sure that you understand what you just learned, because we're moving on. And if he felt like you weren't ready, he would have you off on the side while the rest of the class did move on. He'd have you off on the side, either with himself or another instructor, to catch you up and then bring you back in and catch you up on what's going on. But he was never going to let anyone move faster than they should. He was going to make sure that you knew what you were doing. You're going to be safe about it. He was going to push you, but he wasn't going to get reckless with you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the way I got it, and again, I never trained with him, but what I got from what Rob was saying, talking about the having the trainers, the instructors having the binder and that sort of stuff, right? And talking about it, keeping them on task and getting things moved forward. It seemed like he was really focused on providing the best value he could possibly provide in that course, right? The best bang for your buck. And you don't do that by moving at the speed of the slowest, most inept student.
That's correct. Yep. And you don't move, and you don't get that by moving at the speed of the best either.
Right.
But yes, there was a young man. I think he was just out of college, and we became friends and all that. And he was from Chicago, and he literally bought himself a Smith & Wesson Shield because he got a job in Chicago straight out of college. And his parents were like, I don't really like the fact that you're going to go to Chicago. You had other job offers, this, that, and the other. If you're going to go to Chicago, then we're going to get you a gun, and we want you to take some training. And so that was a deal that he made with his parents. Is he wanted to take the job in Chicago, and they got him a gun, and then he went to, and so he had shot the gun before. I'm not saying he was like he'd just gotten the gun and never shot it. He had shot the gun before, but never with really an instructor. Just went to the range. This was the first time he'd ever been in a class or been any instruction of any kind was at fighting pistol. So you can imagine how overwhelmed this kid is, right? 22 years old, just completely overwhelmed. And especially that first day, he was just like, what? And you look over, and if you've been there fighting pistol, there's like 25 targets on this target line. It's a huge range. You get 25 targets, and there's 2 waves. There's 50 people in this class usually. This young man was off on the side, and they didn't have enough instructors to have one over there. So who was helping this kid? James was. James was over there helping him with reloading and all of that and getting back on target, working a minute malfunctions and all that. And he kept that kid. It wasn't like, hey, come on, man, hurry up and get this so we can move on. He was like, we're going to get this until you get it. We're going to do this over and over and over until you get it. And then we'll worry about catching you up. So even though the class itself was, like you said, structured to get the most bang for your buck, and you go at the speed of the average student, not the best, not the slowest, right? He never wanted to leave anyone behind. He was willing to sit there and say, look, if we've got to stay here an hour later than everybody else to catch you up, you're going to get all the information everybody else got. We just might have to move at a little bit slower pace for this particular person. Once again, the pride, the passion he had. I'm not saying he's the greatest instructor ever. I'm not saying it's the best curriculum ever. I'm not saying it's the best tactics ever. What I will tell you is if you go in there and take it seriously, you will get better, you will learn, and you will come out a different person. More importantly, his idea of making everybody a better gunfighter for personal protection, he was serious about. And if he honestly felt that you didn't get what you needed to get out of that class, he had zero problem refunding your $500 right then and there. Not a problem. Because if in that point he says, I haven't earned your money, and it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, anyone could say, oh, I want my money back. I didn't get anything from you. You can tell when someone doesn't get anything from you. And he was like, you know what? If I haven't earned your money, then I'm not going to take your money. And once again, we're talking about respect here. Whether you like the person or not, whether you agree with them or not, I think the respect factor for Yeager is what you're seeing in the last week. And Rob Clover, you heard him say that. Rob's talking about a lot of people had come out in the last week that he wished would have come out 5, 6, 10 years ago to say what they've been saying the last week. The respect is what you're seeing now. You're not seeing people come out of the woodwork saying, oh, man, I thought James was a great guy. I love that guy. He was awesome. No, you're not hearing that because James was a good person, but not everyone saw that side of him. What you're hearing now is the respect factor. And I think that that's the legacy. Kind of bring this back to the legacy thing. I think James's legacy is respecting the firearms, respecting curriculum, respecting his students, respecting his instructors, respecting the community, the family. I think Yeager was about respect. Didn't give a shit at all if you liked him or not. I think that he was much more in it for respect than the kindness. Much more, I think he wanted his students to respect firearms and respect what they can do than being popular. And I think that that's probably why he was popular, is if you ever took a class with him, I think anyone that's ever taken a class with him knows that there is that side of him. There is the YouTube and all of that side, the instructor side, the tactical response side. That's a real dude right there. And I and you know this, I'll be the first one to tell you that I completely changed my mind about the guy 4 or 5 years when it was 2018. So 4 years ago, completely changed my mind about the guy. Not saying that I'm great friends with the man. We text back and forth every now and then. We saw each other a couple times a year, and when we did, we broed it up and all of that. And good seeing you, bro, and all that. We would text back and forth, and I'd send him a couple questions at times, and he is always quick to respond to my texts and all of that. So, more importantly, I'll say this. I'm proud to say that I knew the man. What I'm most proud of is that I learned from that man and his staff. I'm proud that I took his class because I learned a lot. And Clover, you know how much I learned and how much that mindset changed me in a lot of ways. And that's not me just saying that because the man died. I mean, you remember when I got back, that mindset thing is all I talked about for a month.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. But I'm proud to have known the man, but I'm more proud that I wasn't an idiot and I was open-minded enough to take him up on his offer to go train with him, because I think that I would probably regretted it. And I know that I wouldn't be as good as handling and all that. I am very proud to say that I'm an alumnus of tactical response. And that's really ultimately the biggest thing. I'm going to give you a few minutes and kind of, if you have any more things that you wrote down you wanted to bring up over the last couple hours, go for it. And then obviously, please kind of go into everything that you're doing. You've got several fronts you're fighting on right now with YouTube, with different channels and all of that. But John out there says the mindset lecture changed me completely. Yes. And that is a real thing. Everyone I go to that asks me about tactical response, I'll say that you're going to get your money's worth out of the mindset lecture. The shooting is awesome. You're going to shoot, 500 to 1,000 rounds. The mindset lecture is worth the price of admission, hands down. So I'm going to give you the floor to kind of talk about anything you wanted to, and then obviously go ahead and talk about what you got, what kind of things you've got going on with CloverTech.
Well, just the normal stuff on the main channel here. So got New York Prepper be in the house on the podcast Thursday. We had a cancellation for tomorrow, so we got to reschedule or a reschedule. I don't want to say a cancellation, a reschedule for the one tomorrow. So it won't be anything tomorrow. Thursday we'll have New York Prepper, normal video drop probably on Friday there. Working with YouTube over on the GunTuber Academy channel.
You had some interesting things happen over the last week.
Yeah, last week was interesting. So I'll just say this: did have a video drop today. Was able to knock a video out over there. They're few and far between because they're specifically for people making firearm content to help them out with policy, what to do, what not to do, things like that. Specifically with firearm content creators here on YouTube. So, I had some issues last week dealing with minors and firearms in videos. So, if you are a creator that does that regularly or occasionally, or if you know of any channels, maybe point them to that video and make sure they're aware of, policy and what they should and should not be doing. Outside of that, probably rip some more packs of cards here in a little bit over on the CloverTech Cards channel. So been having fun with that one. So probably do some football tonight and film all that.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys are into sports cards, football, baseball, basketball, really anything, but if you're into the trading card thing, go check out CloverTech Cards. I know you've been having fun doing that the last year or so, and I enjoy it because that brings back fond memories of my youth and baseball cards. And we talk about baseball cards a lot more than we talk about guns. Ironically,
we do. Well, it's funny. I got a comment. What was it? The Saturday video drop. So spoiler alert. Plug your ears if you don't want to hear this. But pulled a Tom Glavine rookie card.
Second
right?
card, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome out of a single random pack. That was pretty cool. Best
like
card
you just said, hey, the chase card in this is gonna be a Tom Glavine. Oh, there it is.
Bam, there it is. And so, that's the best card out of that set, for that year.
Yeah.
But at a comment, he's like, oh, that's not worth a whole lot of money. And I'm like, it's not really about that. It's about the nostalgia of the excitement of ripping the packs, the nostalgia of the older stuff, and hopefully, I mean, I do some of the newer stuff as well, and we talk a lot about that.
And that's a 30-year-old pack. First of all, let's just remember it's a 30-year-old pack.
Yeah, and so but even with some of the new stuff, like I look forward to as that channel grows, when I do some of the new stuff. I won't give away, the farm on anything I've done so far that hasn't released, but there are some old players that show up in new packs, which is
true,
really freaking cool, right? So, but with the newer players, like things from I would say on 95 to 2000 on up, I look forward to feedback right through the comments for people that do currently, like you, that do currently keep up with sports and all that kind of stuff, to say, oh crap, you glossed right over that one. That's a good one or whatever. That's part of the fun of it as well. Is hopefully it leads into some interaction with the audience out there.
100%. Yeah, I enjoy the card rips. And like I said, I was up until I was about 16. Man, I was big. I'd go to card shows. I'd go. This is back when they had sport card shops, like card shops. You can go in and buy and trade and all that. We'd go at least once a week and see what was there and trade and all of that stuff. And that was a big deal back in the day. And it's not so much anymore, but it brings back fond memories. So it's fun to watch that. So if you guys are into sports and sports cards in general, Clover Tech Cards, it's well worth a visit. As far as us guys, if you've been around me long enough for the last 5 years, you understand that basically June, July, and August, I'm hit or miss when it comes to content because I'm just so busy at work. I don't have the time to get to the range. Literally haven't been to the range in like a month. But that time is starting to slow down, so you will start seeing some content. Got some cool guns, got some cool stuff, products we're working with, and all that. So you will start seeing some more regular content come out of the channel. Thanks for everyone that has been patient and knows my situation. This is not my job. This is it has become like a second job, which is a good thing. I never thought that. And Clover and I will both say we never thought we'd get to a level that we had to worry about making time for YouTube, because we didn't ever expect anyone to watch our shit and care about us making regular content. But I do have a job that I work many hours a week, and that pays the bills and pays the mortgage and keeps food on the table. So that does come first. But my busy time is going to start getting slower here. So you will start seeing some content come out. So I appreciate you guys hanging on to the summer months that know my situation. You guys, if you're new to the channel, new to the podcast, thank you guys for watching. 2 hours you're not going to get back. You're never going to get it back, but we do appreciate you wasting 2 hours of your life. If you're watching this in replay or listening in podcast form, God bless you. But it has been nice. Thanks for Rob for coming on to share some insight. And Robin and I have been talking a lot in the last few months, or actually like the last month or so, about his schedule is going to start winding down a little bit as well. So we're going to see him on the show a few times in the next coming months and doing different things. But yeah, he's busy as hell as well. But thanks for him coming on. And Jason says, we appreciate and enjoy your second job. I would like to think that I put effort into it to where it's not like just, that's my second job, who cares? No, it's a second job that I take very seriously, and a second job that I have passion for and have I enjoy tremendously. I just wish I could do more of it during the summer months. There's that 90-day period of my life that's just absolute madness. And so the other 9 months of the year, I'm usually pretty consistent, but those 3 months is challenging at best. We'll put it that way. But thank you so much for watching. We're going to be right at 2 hours when we get done with this. So I want to say rest in peace to James Yeager. The legacy of Yeager will live on through Tactical Response and all the alumnus. We'll make sure that happens. But thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. Semper Fi.